Lack of a trauma-informed lens. While the TWG report is unequivocal about the need for trauma-informed approaches among persons and institutions tasked with responding to VAWG, it lacks such an approach in its language and analysis, which does not reflect existing promising practices. For instance, the report defines a victim as a person who has recently experienced GBV or is currently experiencing the abuse, and a survivor as a person who has overcome the trauma of violence through the complete cycle of psychosocial support. The definitions of these terms are incorrect, and such strict demarcation between the two terms is unnecessary. Further, this clinical definition of a survivor delegitimizes the experience of those who cannot or choose not to access formal mental health services. Both terms are used interchangeably and refer to a person or group of persons who have individually or collectively suffered harm, be it physical or psychological, as a result of acts or omissions that violate their rights. The laws governing GBV, including VAWG in most countries, use the term victim rather than survivor. The decision to identify as either a victim or survivor depends entirely on the preference of the person who has suffered harm. It is not the place of law or policy to decide who is a victim and who is a survivor. It is most definitely not the place of law to make survivor status dependent on receiving services or overcoming the trauma caused by violence. The place of the law is to provide a framework for support, recovery, redress, justice, and well-being of persons who suffer such violence, regardless of the terminology used. The definitions of these terms are also unclear, raising questions such as what time duration counts as recently? What amounts to complete psychosocial support? Does a person who has not received complete psychosocial support remain a victim forever? These definitions contradict existing literature in the field of trauma, which speaks extensively to the long-term effects of trauma, making clear that trauma often causes permanent psychological and physiological impact. Yet another reason it is incorrect to only recognize people as survivors once they overcome their trauma. Indeed, there is increasing research pointing to the increase of certain types of diseases in women and girls from, among other things, the direct and indirect experience of gender-based violence, including femicide. The report's lack of a trauma-informed lens is also seen in its language and analysis, which entrenches narratives of victim blaming. Such language conflicts with the report's own recommendations against victim blaming. The report uses terms such as broken family and broken homes to refer to families where men have abandoned their wife or partner and children. Such language is rooted in negative gender stereotypes that stigmatize and punish the members of the family left behind, the woman and children, rather than the members of the family who left, the man. The report also facilitates victim blaming by persistently using passive voice when talking about GBV or VAWG, and framing sexual violence as being about sexual desire rather than power, an analysis that reflects a definition that is in conflict with, for instance, the UN Women definition, which provides that, in part, sexual violence is rooted in gender inequality, the abuse of power, and harmful norms. The term is primarily used to underscore the fact that structural, gender-based power differentials place women and girls at risk for multiple forms of violence. Both these issues are illustrated in the direct quote below, which frames the problem as being the woman's absence rather than men's predatory behavior, even towards their own children and other children left in their care. Open quotes. In Bungoma County, stakeholders recounted how women leave their homes, going to work as house helps in Saudi Arabia and Middle East countries, christened by locals as Arab migration, as well as Nairobi, thus leaving their children with their fathers, who often than not turn to female children for sexual satisfaction. Relatives also take advantage of the vacuum, which leads to cases of rape and defilement. Such environments increase the risk of abuse sometimes by caregivers, relatives, or neighbors. Page 45.